Truth Girl. Who qualifies her to put a work on these people?
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Mickey Truth, aka the Queen of Paperwork, and I am back with another video. As always, all information contained in this video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. All information used in this video is per the Fair Use Act, and any conclusion that you draw is on you, not me. So let's get it. What's up, Truth Team? Like I told y'all some weeks back, that the transcripts will be available for everybody to view. And shout out to Crown Court TV, okay? They have been breaking down in parts. They do well at reading it. So I'm like, hey, I gotta react to it, okay? Because great job to them. And guess what? It saves me time and energy and money, okay? So we're gonna get into it. Opening statements for Muwop, aka Marcus Smart. I felt like, since every time Muwop name get mentioned around here, they put Mickey Truth in it. So I said, okay, let's start with his defense opening statement. So, hey, let's get into it.
My name is Mark Barnett. I represent Marcus Smart with co-counsel Michelle Marine. I would first like to thank you for participating in our justice system. It's an honor and a privilege to do that, and we all take pride in it. And you notice I brought notes. I like to have notes. It helps me remember things. And as the judge told you, you're allowed to take notes too. You can take notes if you'd like. And so forgive me if I look down every once in a while. So we all have a job to do here. All of us, the jury, the government, the lawyers, we all have a responsibility. But you have the biggest responsibility. You sit in judgment of another human being. That is a huge responsibility, and so guard it well. Marcus Smart is not guilty of murdering FBG Duck on August 4th, 2020, in aid of racketeering. The government has the burden of proof. You've heard this so many times. You've heard it since you've arrived here. And I want to implore you that sometimes what happens is if you hear something over and over again, you tend to give it less significance.
Oh, yes. I would have to agree with that, okay? And also, when you hear it repeatedly, sometimes you take it more as a fact and not a statement or opinion also. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that. But y'all probably gonna say, yeah, we bet you do. Let's continue.
But don't let that happen. You guard that. That is your responsibility. That is the law. Now, you've heard that the indictment or charge is not evidence. The judge told you that. And you've heard that. And what does that mean, though, that the indictment is not evidence? Well, let's put it this way. None of you have been indicted in this case. You haven't been indicted in this, and I haven't. And what is the purpose of that? At this moment, you are presumed innocent of everything. You are innocent people, and so are the defendants. The piece of paper that charges them doesn't change that. The fact that they're sitting across from you doesn't change that. Now, what I mean by that is switch it around. Let's say they were judging you. What would you want? What you ask of them? Fair trial, no bias, no prejudice, presumption.
Well, let's pause. Shout out to YouTube. That's a no-go, okay? Because pretty sure y'all know YouTube has definitely taken over. And for this particular case, YouTube has been the source of the updates for it, okay? No major sites until the verdict was read covered this case. Most of the blog sites like No Jumper, academics, they wasn't even covering like that. It was really channels like mine. And then you had articles from Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Tribune, not even every day, just every so many days. So that already set the foundation that was going to be bias and prejudice. Because as y'all know, they hadn't convicted these boys on the internet before the jury even saw the case. But, I guess that's the day and age we live in.
That just because you were sitting there that you did something. That's what the justice system is about. We all come from different places, different neighborhoods. We were brought up differently. We have different backgrounds, but there's one thing we all have in common in this courtroom, all of us. We're all human beings. And in this country, human beings get a fair trial. So don't forget that as we go through this case and as you hear evidence, Now, you know,
keyword, he ain't say from the street level. He ain't say in the streets, this is what we get. He said, as human beings in this country, a fair trial. Okay. So everybody always talking about stay out of street business. Court cases is not street business. Obviously, it's a different set of rules. They're laying out the rules. You're innocent until proven guilty. All right. Keyword, innocent until proven guilty. It's no such thing as innocent or guilty in the streets. Okay. It's all subjective, really. So at the end of the day, let's stay focused. Court cases is not street business. Although street business end up in the paperwork because 9 out of 10 times the street niggas getting caught up, but it's still not street business.
No, the United States is at this table, but it's not just at this table. The United States of America is right there. It's right there. It's the people of the United States, the people. So keep it in mind. We're all in this together. This is a system of justice that we are all in together, and they are included in that. And just because they happen to be sitting there doesn't change it. It's all of us. It's all of us. So the piece of paper that contains the charges doesn't change that. It does not change that. And the fact that the defendants are sitting where they are doesn't change that either. So Judge Packold told you that the indictment charges Marcus Smart with murdering Carlton Weekly, FBG Duck, on August 4th, 2020, in aid of racketeering. That's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about that. What does that mean, and what is the burden on the government?
Pause. All right, y'all know what reaction you got. You can't just let it play you straight through, okay? But anyway, as you heard him break it down, again, y'all, indictments are just that. That's the storyline that the government or the state, the prosecution puts together. Doesn't mean it's factual, whatever. It means their storyline based on the witnesses they found, based on the evidence that they believe they have, outlines this. Okay. And as we know, okay, it's a little shaky on some of the witnesses. However, that's what the indictment is all about. Again, when it goes to the grand jury, because the burden is on the prosecution, the defense does not go to the grand jury. The defendants does not go to the grand jury. The grand jury is only for a show for the prosecution. The prosecution tells the amount of jurors that's up there, like, hey, this is what we got. Here go my witnesses. Here go my theory. What y'all think? And they either come back yes to a verdict, or I'm not verdict, excuse me. Yes to a true bill, meaning indictment, or no. That's what that's about. So again, indictments are the storyline or the story, the foundation that the prosecution put in place. The defendants that have nothing to do with that because they're not even privy to the grand jury. Okay? Just a little FYI for those who don't know.
They have to prove that Marcus Smart, as all the defendants separately has to be considered, murdered FBG Duck on August 4th, 2020. No other murder. He's not charged with any other murder. You might hear about a lot of murders, but he's not charged with any other murders. That's the murder he's charged with. That's the murder you have to consider. And you have to consider him separately, as all the defendants have to be considered separately. He doesn't have to prove anything. You heard that. You know that. He doesn't even have to explain anything.
Pause. A lot of y'all was saying, well, why he ain't do this? Why he ain't do that? Because the burden is on the prosecution in any case. Same thing I said in the Melly case. Defendants don't have to say anything. The burden is on the prosecution. This is why, right, it was so important for the government to tie in a RICO with this murder case. As we already know, and what we will probably hear, because this is my first time hearing an opening statement too. That's why I did it as a reaction. Okay. It was little evidence on the murder part of it. The tie-in was the RICO. That's how they got the conviction. So let's hear what the lawyer had to say.
The government has to explain. There might be times during this trial when you're going to say, what? Something is missing here. I don't get this. Well, I'll tell you what is not evidence in this case. What I say right now is not evidence in this case. Anything that comes out of my mouth, not evidence. What Judge Packle says is not evidence. What the government lawyers say is not evidence. That is not evidence. So our opening statements, the government, ours, mine, the rest, is not evidence at all. The evidence comes during the trial, and the government has to prove each element of the charge of the indictment, and the judge will instruct you what those are. I'm not going to get into what the law is. That's for the judge to tell you. It's not my place to tell you what the law is. But I will tell you that you will get that. And the burden is every element has to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt, beyond they're presumed innocent. You promised, you swore you were going to do that. Now, I will briefly discuss what you won't hear. I'm not going to explain anything about what's in or not in a video, or anything about the evidence of the case. But I'm going to tell you what you're not going to hear, because that I can do. Well, you're not going to hear about any cell phones or locations or any way that they can pinpoint any part or any at all about where Marcus Smart was on August 4th. You're going to hear.
And we know that because the proffer that the government put out, they dropped the ball, so they want us to think, but they didn't get his phone records. Why? Because they ain't fit the storyline. We know that. We said it then. But let's continue.
An expert witness talk about that. You're not going to hear his name. Nothing. You won't hear his name mentioned in that testimony. You'll note you won't hear any statements by Marcus Smart. None. No statements from Marcus Smart regarding this case or the murder on August 4th. So
right there, you already heard, and I skipped it, that no matter what everybody said, no statements were made or mentioned that Muwop gave. Let's continue.
This case or the murder on August 4th. The government will introduce text messages, phone calls, statements of various individuals. You will not hear his name mentioned. You listen, and any statements, phone calls, nothing, text messages, nothing. There will be no forensic evidence, no DNA, no fingerprints, no other physical evidence directly putting Marcus Smart at Oak Street during the shooting of FBG Duck.
But you know what you will have? You will have witnesses that say, hey, I know him when he was 12. Or, hey, this happened way before he was even outside. Oh, this person did this. This person did that. You will have people saying, oh, Muwop got out the car. Muwop got out the car. All up and down social media. But when it comes to the court case itself, there was no evidence of that. And that's my whole point. And that's what people fail to understand when I said free Muwop. When I went into the paperwork, we were told it was all this evidence against him. But even in the opening statement, the lawyer is saying what's not there. We hearing it. We're seeing it with our own eyes. This is why I say it's so important and why I like to go to court hearings myself. Because you get bamboozled sometimes by getting it through a third party, whether it's the newspaper, the news, people speaking on it, friends of people speaking on it. That's just how it goes. And unfortunately, everybody don't have truth in mind.
None. Listen, don't take my word for it. Listen, the government will introduce videos. There will be a video of the actual shooting. There will be a video of the actual shooting. You'll get to see it. No one has identified Marcus Smart from the videos on Oak Street as being one of the shooters. No one. There were a lot of people present at the time of the shootings. No one, not a person, has indicated or identified Marcus Smart as being present at the scene of the shooting. You'll see other videos. You'll hear witnesses and esteemed counsel have kind of reviewed what type of witnesses you're going to hear. You make up your own mind. Listen to it. Watch the video. I'm not going to tell you what I think. You make up your own mind. You watch the video with your own eyes. You determine what's in those videos. And you evaluate the testimony of the people making identification from those videos. You do it. I'm not going to speak about it.
And again, nobody that was present during the shooting identified Marcus Smart, aka Muwop. Nobody. Remember, in his acquittal motion, the informant, the government property, identified him from when he was 12 years old. Okay. Another witness said, oh, I only seen him on Facebook. Nobody present for the shooting or the murder identified him. They didn't have nobody that was in O Block out there at the time come on the stand and say, yeah, I saw Muwop get into the car. None of that. So despite your emotional feelings towards it, when it comes to the actual legal side of it, no witness came forward.
One thing I will say, though, it is for you to determine what you see. I can't tell you what you see. No one can tell you what you see in a video. That's for you to decide. That's for you to determine. So you're going to hear some other evidence. You're going to hear Marcus Smart was a rapper. His name was Muwop. He was a drill rapper, and he had jewelry, and he had tattoos. Okay? You'll hear about it. You'll probably hear some of his rapping. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you won't. I don't know. But the judge will instruct you of the meaning with how to consider that evidence, not me. The judge will instruct you on that. So prior to being selected, I remember very well, and I know you probably remember too, you were asked questions. And sometimes maybe you didn't like the questions we were asking you or the way we asked, but we had to make a determination. We wanted to get a fair and impartial jury, and that's the way the system works. We had to do that. And I think we've succeeded. No question in my mind, we've succeeded. I know you're going to give it your best shot. I know you're going to be fair. I can feel it. I'm not even going to ask you to do it. You will do it. So you were asked, is there anything about the fact that you may hear about drill rap music, performers, lyrics, and videos that would make it difficult for you to be fair and impartial? You remember that? You all said no. Nothing could influence me. I can be fair and impartial. Then you were asked, is there anything that might affect your ability to fairly evaluate the evidence? Anything that would stop you from doing that? What did you all say? No, that's why you're sitting here. We believed you. So listen carefully. Pay close attention. You will see from this evidence, there is nothing that puts Marcus Smart in any way, shape, or form on Oak Street directly. Nothing. There is no evidence that he was there. Nobody saw him there. You're not going to hear any evidence about that. So you swore you would give him a fair shot, that you would judge him separately. That is your duty.
Well, if that's the case, everybody went wrong on that because if all of this is true and this is just opening statements, we got a whole case to go through. But from the opening statement so far, then the motion for acquittal, seemed like some of the juries didn't have an impartial thought process or held something else against a person to sentence him, has sentenced him, convict him, if no evidence pointed to him. Now the question is, did they prove he was part of the conspiracy? But the conspiracy, in this case, the RICO, is the murder of FBG Duck. So it will be interesting to hear when jurors do start speaking out, because you know it always happens. They will have an opportunity to speak out. I would love to hear their thought process, just like we did in the YNW Melly case, of what they thought behind the scenes.
Duty and responsibility. That's your job. It's my job to do this. Everybody has a job. It's your job to be responsible and bring that with you all through the trial. It's your job to do that. It's your duty to do it. That's what justice demands of us, all of us, the people of the United States of America, all of us. And I do believe that is all that Marcus Smart asked of you. The same thing you would ask of him if it was the other way around. So I believe once that happens, you will have no choice whatsoever. You will find him not guilty because that's your responsibility. Thank you.
Well, according to the verdict, that didn't happen. He wasn't found not guilty. He was found guilty on multiple counts. So now the question is, what will it reveal throughout the rest of the transcripts when it comes to Marcus Smart, aka Muwop? Because it seems like it's so evident he's the the one out of the group that everybody wants to talk about. We're going to dissect the case just like we did with YNW Melly, and we're going to do it for Muwop. So, for those who always say, oh, Muwop your boyfriend, Muwop this to all the little dick eaters over there in the police sector, well, guess what? I'm going to do Muwop defense videos where I'm going to break down the transcripts. I'm going to break down the evidence from the side if I was part of the defense for Muwop and see where the errors took place. So, if y'all thought I was something breaking down YNW Melly case, then y'all might as well hold on tight. So, with that being said, a new playlist will be added to my page, and it's going to say the defense of Marcus Smart, aka Muwop, coming soon. I'm out. Like, comment, share, subscribe, tell a friend to pull up on your girl Mickey Truth. And as always, donations are welcome to support the channel. Hit the cash out, Mickey Truth 2022. Holla!
Shout out Mickey. Mickey, you gonna be big. Like,
yeah,
I'm trying to conquer the world. Coming from where I come.